Hey, what's good? It's RobREACTs back with another one. Today we have another subscriber request. This one from Ren the Walker. It says, I think you should react to something scary, a babysitter's worst nightmare. So I'm not sure if you meant something called a babysitter's worst nightmare, but I know you weren't talking about this. So I'm thinking you mean, some scary stories including babysitters. So I found some online. Let's see here. This one is called Three True Babysitting Horror Stories. I think this is what you meant. Let me know in the comments. Alright, like, share, subscribe. Thanks for the subscription.
When I was a little bit younger, I used to babysit. I did it for about a year and a half total, and this happened back in 2017 when I was 18 years old. I would mostly babysit for family friends and people that knew my family well. It wasn't something that I would really go out of my way to do that much, but I enjoyed it for the most part, and it was pretty easy money generally. One day, I happened to go to one of the local grocery stores on my way home after the gym. A man approached me inside who I didn't know, but he said, "Hey, aren't you Ariel?" That is in fact my name, and the man then said he was good friends with the Johnsons. The Johnsons were a family that I would occasionally babysit for, and they were family friends of mine. I told him yes, and the man told me that he was just about to call me because he really needed a babysitter for tonight. The man said his name was Mike, and he was average height, had light brown hair, and wore a vest jacket. He apologized for the short notice, but said that his normal babysitter had canceled, and he had heard about me when asking around. I was free that night, and didn't have any plans yet, but I had an unsure feeling, probably because I had just met this man. But if he knew the Johnsons, I guess it was all right. He then told me how much he would...
Bruh, already I'm like, hold on. He just bumped into you and was like, oh, hey, ain't you, da-da-da, don't you work for... Boy, that boy sound like a true creeper, bruh. I'm guessing this a dude just narrate or, reading it, but I'm guessing this a girl because the name was Ariel. So I'm thinking it's a girl in the store.
Pay, and said that his son was 5 years old and pretty well behaved. I thought for a second, and then agreed to babysit his son that night. I'm not going to lie, the main reason I accepted it was after finding out how much he was going to pay. He gave me the address and told me to be there at 8 p.m. that night. When the time came, I drove to his house. It was about 20 minutes away, and when...
So you ain't called the people that he said referred you? You ain't called the whatever, the name Johnsons or whatever? Be like, hey, by the way, you know Mike or whatever? Come on now, y'all got to do y'all due diligence.
When I got to the neighborhood, it looked pretty rough. The house was run down looking. I parked on the side of the street in front and texted Mike that I was at his house. He replied saying, "Great, come on in," with an exclamation point. I walked up the driveway, which did not have a car in it at all. I went to the front door, but it was locked, so I texted Mike again. He replied almost immediately, saying that he was sorry and he had forgotten to mention to tell me to go in the side door. Then he told me to go down into the basement to meet his son. I walked around to the side door.
Bruh.
When I got inside the house...
Come on, man. Like, this, come on, man. Come on, man.
It looked almost as bad as the outside. There wasn't much inside, but the things that were appeared to be in really bad shape. There was garbage on the floor, an old beat-up table, and dirty shag carpeting in the living room. The only lights were from a couple of dim lamps. I saw the basement doors open with the stairs leading down, and I saw that the basement appeared to be unfinished. I was getting a really bad feeling about this whole situation. Meanwhile, I was just standing inside the house in front of the basement door for about a minute. Then I felt my phone vibrate as if I was receiving another text. I pulled it out of my pocket and looked at it. It was another text from Mike. He said, "What are you waiting for? Come downstairs already." I didn't respond. I just kept standing there. For some reason, I had a strong urge to just leave the house. I felt like going into the basement would be a really bad idea.
Come on, man.
I was trying to decide if I was just being scared for no reason, or if I was actually doing the right thing. If Mike's son's bedroom was down there, and Mike was downstairs with him, then everything should be fine. But also, why would his bedroom be in an unfinished basement, and why couldn't he meet me upstairs? In these few seconds, I got another text. It said, "Come downstairs. I don't have all night to wait for you." Going against my instincts, I took a few steps and then began to walk down the stairs. I got another text as I was doing so. It said, "Hurry," in all caps. This was just too much. I had a terrible feeling about going down there, and it was getting worse the farther I went. Something was off about Mike for sure. I turned around and walked back up the stairs. When I reached the top, I heard footsteps from the basement, and it sounded like they were starting to go up the stairs. I walked right back to the door and went outside, closing the door behind me. Once I was completely outside, I sprinted for my car and drove all the way home. I made it home, and once inside, I told my parents that I didn't end up taking the babysitting job after all. After that, I finally looked at my phone again. I had several more texts from Mike. One said, "You shouldn't have left." The next one said, "That's right, I don't even have a kid." Then he said, "My name's not even Mike, and I don't live in that house, so don't even try reporting me." I got the chills when reading this. I think there was definitely something wrong with that guy. To think about how close I came to entering his basement, just knowing I was in his house, really creeps me out. I ended up telling my parents all about it, and then we went to the police. It turns out my parents' friends, the Johnsons, did know who the guy was, but they weren't really friends with him. He just used to be their neighbor for a short time. With all the information we did have, he ended up getting caught. What I still don't know is how he found me in the first place.
So this fucking idiot was actually new to people, the Johnsons, and then was texting her from his phone like, "Oh yeah, I don't even have a kid. Oh yeah, blah, blah." Like what? Sometimes I be thinking, yo, these stories just made up. These supposed to be true scary stories, but that's just a true stupid story on both sides. She was dumb as fuck for even thinking about going down to I stepped down the steps. Come on, bruh. And then he was dumb as fuck for even, what the fuck was your plan, bro? Like, come on, bruh. Like, just dumb on both sides. Dum-dums. That must be where dum-dums come from. Let's get to the number 2.
This story takes place 5 years ago as I was babysitting for my cousin's kids. My cousin and her husband have 2 kids. At the time, their son Asher was 7 and their daughter Alyssa was 5. They're both really well behaved and always have been. I always loved babysitting them because we got along great and I knew it would be an easy night. Usually, I would hang out with the kids for a bit, make them dinner, and they would usually do their own thing for a bit before bedtime. Their bedtime was 9 p.m., and after they went to bed, I would just hang out in the living room and watch TV or something. The house was pretty nice, and I think I babysat them about 10 times total. One night, it was a Friday, and after I arrived, I made dinner for the kids, and things were going very smooth. We all watched a movie after that, and then it was bedtime. Alyssa went to bed first, and Asher didn't seem as tired, but by 9 o'clock, he too had gotten ready for bed, and I said goodnight to him. After that, I would have maybe an hour or two before they would get home. I texted some friends on my phone, and then was deciding what to put on the TV when I saw Asher walking towards me from the hallway. I asked him what he was doing back up, and he told me that he was scared because he had just seen a man walk past his window. Asher's bedroom faced the backyard of the house, which was fenced off, and this neighborhood was relatively private, so obviously this raised some concerns. I asked Asher what the man looked like and if he was sure he saw a man. He was not known to make things up like this, so I believed him. I just wanted to be sure. He said that the man just looked average and he couldn't see him that well. I asked him which direction the man was going, and he pointed to the opposite end of the house. We both went into his bedroom and looked out the window. All I saw was the quiet, dark backyard. I told Asher that he should go back to bed, but if he saw the man again to let me know, and I assured him that I would keep an eye on the backyard from the living room window.
Bruh, this is the thing what got me always tripping. You said the kid don't lie. He not known for lying. He just told you he seen a man. It wasn't like he saw some giraffe or some clown. He saw a man, and you told him to go back to bed. And you'll just keep an eye on the backyard? Come on, bro. Y'all babysitters.
Then he went back to bed, and I returned to the living room. The living room did have a pretty good view of the backyard, although I couldn't see all of it. About 20 minutes went by, and I would frequently look out to the backyard. One time, I looked over and actually did see somebody out there. There was a guy walking by the window near the back of the house where the kitchen is. I couldn't believe it. It was pretty dark out there, but there was no mistaking it. I really didn't expect the guy to come back. I walked over to the window and looked outside. The man was now out of sight. He must have gone around to the side of the house. I thought about what I should do. I considered calling the police or calling my cousin and explaining what was going on, but ultimately I decided not to. I didn't want to have my cousin get worried or cause a scene, but I did plan on mentioning it to them when they returned home.
Bro. This is what I be talking about, the stupidity of people. The kid said he saw someone by his window. You tell him to go back to bed. And you tell him you're going to look out. Then you see the motherfucker walking around. What the fuck is he doing walking around the house? You talking about, I thought about calling the police, or at least the cousins. You ain't even do that. They talk about, I thought against it. You didn't want to wear her. Are you stupid? Bro, come on, man. This is why I don't have no babysitters. I don't trust them.
I figured that the man would leave, or at least that's what I was hoping. Some time passed by, and I kept watching out the backyard. The man didn't return for a good 15 minutes or so. Then, as I was still in the living room, I heard the doorbell ring. Who would this be? I left the living room and walked to the front of the house and opened the front door. As soon as I did, I saw the same man standing there on the front step. I wasn't expecting this at all. The man said that his car had just broken down and his phone was dead, and he was wondering if he could come inside the house and make a quick call. I wasn't going to fall for this, and I told the man no. I didn't bother asking him why he had been walking in the backyard. The man just said once again, "Can I please come inside for just a second?" I got really nervous and just blurted out to the guy that the police were on the way. Then I slammed the door in his face and locked it. I was kind of surprised at myself for this, but looking back, I'm glad I did it. The guy backed up from the front step and then walked away into the street. Of course, I was afraid that the man was going to come back yet again, and I kept watching out all of the windows of the house. Not too long later, though, I would guess maybe 20 minutes, my cousin and her husband got home. I was relieved for them to be home and told them everything. They did end up calling the police, so I had to stay there for a while longer to answer some questions.
Stupid ass.
Then I was able to go home. My cousin told me since then they haven't seen the man at all or anything else suspicious, which I'm glad to hear. I still wonder, though, who he was and what he really wanted.
So that babysitter was dumb as hell as well. This bitch saw this nigga walking around the house, didn't call the police, didn't call her cousin. Then the doorbell rang. You think they looked through a window or peephole? Nah, just open the door. Buddy right there. Come on, bro. Like, you lucky this dude ain't just bum rush you in the house and do whatever. Bro, come on now. Come on now. Number 3.
Last year, I was asked to watch my sister's kids while she went out of town for a few days. I'm a female and I'm in college. So I was home for the summer, and obviously I said yes. My sister is 7 years older than I am and has twin boys who are now 5, but were 4 years old at the time. It was just going to be 3 or 4 days, but I was still really nervous to watch them all by myself because I figured not 1, but 2 4-year-olds would be really challenging. At first, it was, but I spent some time with them before my sister left, taking care of them a little bit so I could get used to it. Obviously, I'd seen them many, many times before, but I never had to actually take care of them. When my sister left, I did have to call her a couple of times with small questions, but for the most part, everything was going good. My sister and her husband have a 2-story house, with all of the bedrooms being upstairs, and I would be staying in one of them. The twins share a bedroom right next door to the master bedroom. Then there was a guest bedroom that I would be in. Most nights, I would try to have the twins in bed by like 8 or 9 p.m. On the second night, the twins seemed to have a lot of energy. They played with their toys and ran around the living room until it was time for bed. It took a little bit of effort, but I was finally able to get them both upstairs and in bed by about 9 o'clock. I went downstairs after that because I wasn't tired at all. I was hanging out in the living room when about an hour later, I started to hear noises coming from upstairs. I figured one of the twins, or both of them, were awake and playing around in their bedroom. I went upstairs to tell them that they needed to go back to bed. When I got upstairs, though, I went into the twins' bedroom to see them both fast asleep in their beds. This was confusing me. Were they playing a trick on me? I shut the door and started walking back downstairs, but then I heard more noises again. I stopped. The noises weren't coming from the twins' bedroom, though. They were coming from the master bedroom. Who on earth could possibly be in there? I had a terrible feeling about it and didn't even think about opening the door. Instead, I ran back into the twins' bedroom and shut the door. Thank goodness they had a lock on their bedroom door. I saw that the twins were still asleep, and I stayed by the bedroom door and listened. Things were silent for a minute, and then I heard noises again coming from the master bedroom. Then I heard footsteps leaving the bedroom and getting closer. They walked down the hall to seemingly go downstairs. I hoped this meant whoever was in the house was leaving, and I decided to call the police. I felt comfortable actually speaking now that the person was downstairs.
So she decided after all that to call the police? Like, why wouldn't you just call the police? You know what? All right, let's go.
And I dialed 911 and told them what was going on. They said an officer would be out there shortly. I hoped and was sort of expecting whoever was in the house to leave, and I listened close to hear the sound of the front door opening or closing. As I waited, though, I didn't hear it. Instead, I heard footsteps coming back up the stairs again. My heart started to beat faster and faster. The footsteps were slowly getting closer. Then, they arrived just outside the bedroom door that I was in. I held my breath and closed my eyes. Whoever was on the other side of the door then tried opening it. The doorknob turned, but stopped. Then I heard footsteps walking back into the master bedroom that was next door again. I was still standing there, trying not to make any kind of sounds at all. Whoever was there stayed in the master bedroom for maybe 30 seconds if I had to guess. Then they came back out into the hallway and stood right outside the bedroom that I was in. I felt like they knew I was in there. Still, I tried my best to be quiet and not make a sound. Then I heard the sound of sirens. They were coming from down the street and were very quickly getting louder and louder. I heard the footsteps now moving away and go back downstairs. The police were there and in the house within a minute. To my surprise, they caught the intruder, which happened to be a man that lived nearby, I guess. It ended up being a long night, but everything turned out fine. I was just happy that the twins and I were okay.
There you have it. That third babysitter was not as dumb as the other two, but still, bro. As soon as you heard the sound and you knew it wasn't the kids, bro, 911 in the way to the room, bro. You don't know who in there, what's going on, cuz we can't play around. But anyway, let me know how y'all felt about this. If you want some more kind of these reactions, like, share, subscribe, comment. I'll let y'all next time.